Breaking news tonight, a large fire burning in the Campbell Park area of Anchorage. The Anchorage Fire Department says it's on the north side of Dowling and the west side of Elmore. It's between Dowling and Tudor Center. A large tanker aircraft, 2 helicopters dropping fire retardant on that fire all afternoon long. And as of last check, no structures currently being threatened by that blaze. We're starting tonight with team coverage on this. We have teams all across that area looking at different aspects of this fire, and we have information that will be important for your safety. Lauren Maxwell, you're in a subdivision. What have you learned about the fire and the reaction of the residents there?
Well, I can tell you this is the Sunchase subdivision, and for a lot of the folks that live here, Mike, it is deja vu. If you can see behind me, it's a green belt over there, and there's a lot of activity with helicopters dropping water. We've seen the big red fire chemicals that are putting down, and a lot of people sitting out and watching. When I talked to them earlier today, when the fire was a little bit stronger, when the flames were leaping, people were really worried because it reminded them of the MLK fire that was basically in the same area about 2 years ago. Now, at that time, people were told to evacuate the subdivision. It was closed off for quite a bit. This time, apparently, officers came through and warned people, be ready. It might not happen. It might just be ready. I talked to a number of people that were sort of packing up, keeping things, just in case. But at this point, I have to say, it doesn't look like things are nearly as bad as they were even a couple of hours ago. So there's a little bit of a sigh of relief here in this subdivision that literally just backs up to the greenbelt where that fire is taking place. Back to you.
All right, that's good to hear. Thanks, Lauren Maxwell. Let's go live now to Patrick Enslow. He's also in a neighborhood that's off of Dowling. Patrick, what are you seeing and hearing out there?
Well, Mike, earlier today, folks who lived in this neighborhood said they could see flames. Well, that's not the case anymore. As you can see behind me, things have mellowed out from the fire just from visibly looking at it. This neighborhood backs up to the greenbelt, but we are seeing lots of planes, lots of helicopter. They're going in there, they're dropping off water, and you can't even smell smoke out here. And there's a gentle breeze. It's not too rough, but it's a gentle breeze, and yeah, they're going in there, they're dropping the water, and no real smell of smoke. And you can tell here, folks are starting to kind of get a little bit of confidence and kind of getting back to business as usual. But when they initially saw that blaze, you could definitely tell folks were very concerned, but there's a large presence out here as well between APD and some other folks. They're all out here. They're managing traffic. So if you do plan on driving around this area, there is a lot of roads that are closed as they're trying to fight this fire and make sure everyone kind of stays out of the area. Mike?
All right, Patrick on the scene for us tonight. Let's go to Austin Zhang now. He's on Tahiti Loop, close to the edge of Campbell Park. And Austin, tell us what you've been seeing, and you've been watching this very aggressive attack from the air all afternoon.
Yeah, it was honestly pretty impressive, Mike. They had a giant tanker come right over where my shoulder is here, and it basically like a flyover right over top of us. It was pretty crazy. They also have a helicopter still going. He's getting water from Campbell Creek, and he's still dropping water on that fire. I've probably only been here about an hour, and when we got here, smoke all over the place. Now, not so much, but I have a feeling that that last helicopter getting all of that water out of Campbell Creek is probably going to be sticking around and staying until all of the smoke from behind us is gone, and it's almost to that point. It was pretty cool to see. It was almost like we were standing in the middle of like an active airport. We had so much going on behind us. There was a command plane kind of flying in circles, letting everybody know. You can actually hear him right now. He's flying over me right now, letting everybody kind of know that's helping contain this fire, what to do, because it's kind of a small area when you think about it, and you got 5 birds up in the air. A lot can go wrong, but it doesn't look like it did. It looked like it went pretty well. Obviously not fully contained right now, and we talked to some folks that were around here watching, and this is what they had to say.
Looking back here at the smoke, at times it looks like it's going down, but then again it looks like it's coming back up too, but a lot of that could be the wind. But I'm glad to see that they've got crews working on it constantly.
Yeah, and he was actually here when that fire in MLK Day in 2019, so you can imagine how scary that is. But this one a little bit further away, so hopefully this is the worst of it and it's coming to the end. We're going to send it back to you now, Mike.
All right, Austin, thanks for the update. Thanks so much. Chief Meteorologist Melissa Fry has been tracking the conditions near the fire and watching the winds especially close tonight. Melissa, you were saying this could have been an even worse situation with a simple shift of the winds this afternoon.
Yeah, there's three things we watch when it comes to wildfire danger. It's the temperature, it's the humidity, and it's the wind. Now, we know it's been hot, we know it's been dry. Fortunately, the winds, though, not too terribly strong, sitting between 6 and 10 miles per hour right over this fire. They're blowing in almost directly from the west. That's what blew that fire so quickly to the east, burning into that additional fuel that was available in this green space area. Now, had those winds been reversed 180 degrees, you can see the communities, the homes, and the roads that are just to the west of this fire. It would have been a very different situation. Now, temperatures have been warm, sitting in the 70s and 80s. So again, dry, warm conditions. We do have some thunderstorms, no lightning in Anchorage, but we have seen some lightning over the Kenai Mountains, also seeing some lightning tonight over the Cop River Basin, and we still have that chance for an isolated thunderstorm here in Anchorage here this evening as well. Otherwise, the chance for any widespread rain just not going to happen in the near future. Temperatures tomorrow will be right back up into the 70s. This will be the 15th day that we've seen 70-degree days here in Anchorage this summer. Already the warmest start to a summer that we have ever recorded. Mike, I'll have a look at that full 7-day forecast here in a few minutes.
All right, Melissa, we'll see you then. Thanks. Well, our mission here at Alaska's News Source is to always get you the information you need to make decisions about keeping you and your family safe. Again, this afternoon, we do not know of any structures that are being threatened by this fire. Roads in that area are closed around the fire scene, and there's a new emergency operations number. You can call 343-4701 to get information on the fire, especially if you live in that area. Again, that's 343-4701, and officials are asking people to stay out of that area. Here's a look now again at where the fire is specifically. Again, the fire department says it's on the north side of Dowling, on the west side of Elmore, and it's between Dowling and Tudor Center. It is in the same area as the MLK fire back in 2019. We're going to keep tabs on this fire all throughout this hour and this evening on alaskasnewssource.com.
You're watching Alaska's News Source.
More big developments today over the special election to fill the unexpired term of the late Congressman Don Young. A lawsuit was filed today and an expedited hearing held this afternoon to try to get candidate Tara Sweeney moved up after candidate Al Gross dropped out of the race. Now, the judge says he will make a decision by noon tomorrow. 3 voters in Anchorage, Fairbanks, and Utqiagvik filed that lawsuit. Joining us in our studio tonight is candidate Tara Sweeney. And Tara, you said that you would not be filing a lawsuit after the Division of Elections said it was too late to move up the 5th place candidate after Al Gross dropped out, which at this point you are the 5th place candidate. Where do you stand on this lawsuit that was filed by these voters today?
Well, I want to be clear that I am not part of the lawsuit that was filed. However, I do appreciate and thank the brave women who stepped forward to stand up for Alaskan voters. And I strongly believe that the law is clear and that in the event of a vacancy, the next highest vote getter should advance to the final 4.
Why do you think it's so important for Alaska voters to have 4 candidates to choose from in the general election, which will be our first ranked choice voting session?
Well, I believe that when the ranked choice voting system was passed by Alaskan voters, the intent was to have 4 candidates from which to choose. And I'm certainly ready to bring the fight to the center stage if I have the opportunity to advance into the final 4.
And Tara, just a few seconds left. We've been reporting recently that a number of ballots have been rejected by the Division of Elections, a lot of them from rural Alaska communities because of lack of witness signature. Very briefly, are you concerned about that?
What I'm most concerned with is the fact that Nick Begich intervened in this case and is seeking to limit the choices for Alaskan voters. And as an Alaskan, as a woman, that certainly is something that concerns me, and it should concern all Alaskans.
All right, Tara Sweeney, thanks for joining us this evening. In response to Al Gross dropping out of the race and in response to that lawsuit, the Nick Begich campaign told us today, quote, "Electoral integrity is the foundation of our democracy. The law must be strictly adhered to." Begich says that with Al Gross withdrawing from the race, there should only be 3 names on the general election ballot. Sarah Palin, who is running first in the vote count at this point, said in part earlier this week, in many aspects, new voting systems are confusing at best and not conducive to growing voter turnout. However, let's not let that dampen enthusiasm to get the government on the right track. And we reached out to Mary Peltola's campaign. We have not heard back from them. Coming up this evening, we have Melissa checking back on that wildfire burning in Anchorage's Campbell Park area. She'll also have our statewide forecast coming up next.
You're watching Alaska's Weather Source.
Now, welcome back. If you're just joining us, again, we're monitoring a wildfire that's burning in the Campbell Creek area of Dowling and Elmore. This is video from this afternoon. And we just got an update from the Anchorage Office of Emergency Management. They say the fire is currently 10 acres and 25% contained. 17 Anchorage fire units responded to the fire, along with the Division of Forestry and J-Bear fire crews. In addition to those ground crews, they also had 2 helicopters and 3 air tankers working the fire. You can see attacking it from both below and from above. Now, I want to go back out to Lauren Maxwell, who is in a residential area near the fire. Lauren, just 3 years ago, back in July 2019, we were in a very similar situation, really scary for those homeowners in that area. What are you hearing that the public needs to hear at this point?
Well, you know, the homeowners here, as you said, are very cognizant of the fact that they literally had a fire very much like the one behind me in their backyard just a couple of years ago. The folks I've talked to have said they were more concerned about that particular fire because at that time they were asked to evacuate their entire subdivision. This time, officers have come through, told people to get ready, and we have seen some folks doing that, you know, just kind of packing things up, putting it in the car. Earlier today, we saw some people with their hoses out, just trying to keep the sides of their condos well hydrated. You know, there's a lot of concern, but I have to say that in the last hour or so, it doesn't seem like we're seeing those big flames that we did at one point. So talking to people here, I would say they are feeling a little bit more relaxed about how things are going, but again, many of them are prepared in case they do have to evacuate.
All right, again, Lauren Maxwell reporting for us there in Midtown. And yeah, I can't imagine those homeowners that went through this, again, just 3 years ago, 2019, that was the hottest year we had ever recorded. And at this point, we are already seeing hotter conditions than we did that year, again, back in the summer of 2019. Again, the fire now 25% contained, estimated to be about 10 acres. I want to show you a time lapse of what it looked like, the progression of the fire, because it did grow just so rapidly. And this was 2 o'clock, no sign of the fire, but you'll see about 2:15, you'll start to see the smoke firing up there. There goes. And it did continue to spread and grow in height very quickly, seeing flames on the ground by about 3:15. The flames even higher than the treetops. Then we saw that smoke spreading further to the east with those westerly winds. And here by about 4 o'clock, you start to see the smoke dampening down just a bit. And then it stayed pretty stable at this point. You can see they must have a pretty good handle on the fire because we're not seeing nearly as much smoke. But every once in a while, you'll see another tree burst into flames even at this hour. As I mentioned earlier, the winds, really the saving grace in this situation, they were out of the west. And the homes that we're talking about right here, the fire burning just to the east of that, had those winds been the opposite direction, again, an entirely different situation. Temperatures, they've been warm in the 70s and 80s in this area today. And look at these numbers, 7/100ths of an inch of rainfall that we've seen in the past 41 days. That all came down in just 2 days this month, so extremely dry conditions leading into June and now continuing into June as well. This is the warmest start to a summer that we have ever recorded here in Anchorage. Today's high, 76, 11 above what's normal for this time of year, just 2 shy of the record. 78, that was set back again just in 2019, the hottest summer on record. Upper 70s in the valley today, mid 70s also on the Kenai Peninsula. So fire danger is high across all of South Central at this point. That high pressure that's in place in western Alaska, and that ridge is going to continue to form over South Central. Extending down into southeast this weekend is going to keep us dry. It's going to keep us warm. Temperatures will drop a little bit this weekend, but then they'll climb once again. So no chances of any widespread rainfall pushing into the area. Now here's a look at the temperatures you can expect again for your Friday. We're looking at mid to upper 60s for the Kenai, mid 60s for Prince William Sound, back to the mid 70s in the Copper River Basin, mid to upper 70s as you head into the valley tomorrow, low 70s in Anchorage. So again, about 5 degrees cooler cooler than where we were today, and we'll hold at about 70 degrees through the weekend. But then it ramps right back up to 75 degrees again on Tuesday, 74 on Wednesday. We're also going to see temperatures pushing into the mid-80s at that point down in southeast. Mike.
Oof. All right, thanks, Melissa. Well, if you need more rest and relaxation in your life, Rebecca Palsha has a plan. Go to Nome, take a drive, and soak in the hot springs. Here's tonight's Road Trippin'.
It's a difficult drive.
You're in the middle of nowhere.
We're heading north from Nome.
We are 60 miles north at Pilgrim Hot Springs.
This 7-mile trip takes about 30 minutes because this road is bumpy, and you'll need to stop often for pictures.
Oh my God.
Oh, babies. When we finally get to Pilgrim Hot Springs.
Well over 100 years old. Oh, it's gorgeous out here. It's got its own little oasis. It's in the middle of nowhere, so you look around you, it's pretty barren, but over here it's got its own little oasis.
This oasis is covered in flowers and surrounded in history.
In the epidemic flu when hit Western Alaska, this is where a lot of the native children were brought here. The Catholic Church had started an orphanage, and back there in the trees, that's where the kids that were left over that weren't dying, where the parents were dying, that's where they were brought.
This is where they lived. There's a 3-bedroom house to the right for the nuns. Every Sunday, children walked up these stairs to attend church.
It was very harsh living. It was not the best.
Today, there are plans to repair these old buildings and honor the dozens of children who were buried in this mass grave on the property.
Queric means hot springs, so that's part of their tribal healing.
The group of native organizations that own this want to turn the area into a retreat. You can rent a cabin. The goal is healing, peace, relaxation from this.
The natural waters from the hot spring.
The water is warm. The sunshine seems endless. The quiet, it all forces your mind to calm and slow down. We'll be back.
Every chance I get.
Road tripping in Nome. Rebecca Palsha, Alaska's news source.
You're watching Alaska's news source.
Well, this week's fishing report is actually about a trip that Austin took on the Deshka way back at the beginning of June. And in those couple of weeks, the Deshka drainage has been closed for sport fishing of king salmon. But Austin says this trip with Miller's River Boat Service was so much fun, he had to share it with us. And it serves as a good reminder as to why we want this fishery to last for years and years to come.
It was a memorable morning for fishing as we left Deshka Landing. Not just because of the unforgettable sunrise, but because we're joined on this trip by John and Parker Bohan, who are on their honeymoon in Alaska.
It's really like, why not Alaska?
Yeah, probably more of that. I mean, it was
just like, do you want to go to Alaska? Okay,
yeah,
cool.
I mean, it was Parker's idea. I feel like most people go to the beach or, do something like that. And Parker was like, you want to go to Alaska?
And while the Bohans are now joined in matrimony, we started our trip where the Deshka and the Susitna meet and then part ways. And what better way to celebrate a marriage than a moose and hooking into our first king right at the start of the day.
It's like an adrenaline rush, you know? And I also didn't know what to do. I was like, can someone please help me? I was like shocked that I actually got a fish, but it was also awesome.
As we made our way up the Deshka, we were stopping at holes and using a method our guide Ben Miller called back trolling.
Allegedly, there's some salmon sitting in this beautiful hole back there. And these salmon, it's the middle of the day. They do not want to leave this hole. So we're backing these plugs on top of them. They can either get out of the way or they can hit them.
And they hit them pretty consistently throughout the day. During our 6-hour trip, we hooked 7 kings and landed 5 on rods that Miller made himself.
I took a class a long time ago, like 25 years ago. And
you can't take the kings out of their kingdom, so they stay in the water for pictures, and as quickly as they come, they go.
Yep.
We all got to feel what it's like to catch royalty as the Bohans begin their life now that they have officially caught each other.
Go to Alaska on your honeymoon.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's an adventure.
It's a lot cooler, yeah, way cooler than going to the beach, for sure.
Austin Jong reporting. Keep in mind that was in early June. Sport fishing for kings on the Deshka closed on Monday. So you can't catch any kings out on the Deshka. When we come back, we'll check in on the large wildfire burning here in Anchorage and get an update.
You're watching Alaska's news source.
Okay, we've been watching this fire in the Campbell Park area all afternoon. Let's run down the latest information we have while we take a live look at the situation out there. Now, the fire is currently about 10 acres in size. We're told it is 25% contained. There's 17 Anchorage Fire Department units on scene, 2 helicopters, 3 air tankers. The Division of Forestry and J-Bear fire crews are all on that scene. Air operations have been effective on knocking down the fire quite a bit, but there's still, we're told, a large ground fire at that scene. No evacuations in place right now, but APD has been in contact with residents close to the fire, we're told. And again, no threat to any structures at this point. They're asking people to stay away from the trails, avoid the areas of Elmore and MLK, in Elmore and Dowling East. In that area, so just stay away from that.
Yeah, this is it's a situation that we fear here in Anchorage. Our emergency managers are prepared for this. Obviously, they responded very quickly. Glad it wasn't a worse situation. But we're going to stay hot. We're going to stay dry. That's not going to change anytime soon. So be extra careful out there this week.
Absolutely. More news coming up on Channel 2 in just a moment.